Welcome to Shiver Audiobooks. We're thrilled to have you back with us. They say your phone is your lifeline, a comforting thought in a world that never sleeps. But in the age of the invisible grid, your lifeline can become a noose. The truth isn't found in the headlines. It's hidden in a ghost icon on a screen you were never meant to unlock. We all believe we are safe in our suburban sanctuaries. We trust the privacy of our calls and the security of our birthdays. But what happens when the digital ghost of a murdered girl reaches out from a void? What happens when a routine celebration for Vanessa Reddington isn't just another year older, but the start of a countdown she cannot stop? You are about to enter a world of technical noir and systemic betrayal. A world where an unassuming architect is forced to step out of the quiet safety of her blueprints and into a global crossfire of silicon and blood. From the rain-slicked pavement of London to the hollowed-out stone fortresses of the Scottish Highlands, this is not a story of a technical glitch. This is a story of a digital resurrection. Because when an $800 million empire has been programmed to erase you, the only way to save the future is to answer the call. Before we begin, if you enjoy stories that unearth the shadows of the system, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us keep the signal alive. This is Dead Signal.
Chapter 1. The Uninvited Guest. The numbers on the digital clock of the microwave glowed a mocking neon green. 11:42 p.m. Vanessa Reddington sat alone on her velvet navy sofa, the silence of her suburban home feeling heavier than usual. On the mahogany coffee table sat a half-eaten slice of store-bought lemon cake and a single glass of Chardonnay that had long since lost its chill. Today, Vanessa had turned 45. The day had been a blur of performative joy. There was this surprise office lunch where her colleagues at the architectural firm had sang off-key while she blew out candles on a cake that tasted like cardboard. There were the frantic, guilt-ridden phone calls from her ex-husband, Mark, and a brief, choppy FaceTime with her daughter in London. 45, she realized, felt remarkably like 44, only with a slightly more persistent ache in her lower back and a growing sense that the world was moving just a little bit faster than she was. She sighed, kicking off her heels. They hit the hardwood floor with two distinct thuds. "Happy birthday, Ness," she whispered to the empty room. She reached for her phone, a sleek, latest generation model she'd bought herself as a practical gift. It was her lifeline, her calendar, her architect's toolkit, and her only companion for the night. She began the nightly ritual of clearing notifications. A few late LinkedIn happy birthday messages from people she hadn't spoken to in a decade. An automated alert from her banking app. Then she saw it. She frowned, her thumb hovering over the glass screen. On the very last page of her home screen, tucked away in a corner where she usually kept her utility folder, was an icon she didn't recognize. It was a simple, stark design, a minimalist white frequency wave against a pitch-black background. No label, no name, just the icon. "I didn't download that," she muttered, her brow furrowing. Vanessa was meticulous. She organized her apps by color and function. She never clicked on suspicious links. She certainly didn't install nameless software. Perhaps it was a system update, a bloatware push from the manufacturer. Curiosity, fueled by the last sip of Chardonnay, won over her exhaustion. She tapped the icon. The screen didn't flash or transition. It simply went black. For 3 long seconds, Vanessa saw her own tired reflection in the glass. Then a thin, white line appeared in the center of the screen, a horizontal pulse, like a dormant heart monitor. A soft, static hiss began to bleed from the phone speakers. It wasn't the harsh white noise of a radio, but something more organic. It sounded like a sharp intake of breath. Vanessa's heart gave a sudden, erratic thump. She went to close the app, but the home gesture failed. The power button didn't respond. The phone felt unnaturally warm in her palm. Then a voice broke through the static. It was faint, brittle, and impossibly young. "Vanessa." Vanessa froze. The hair on her arm stood up. The voice hadn't come from a recording. It had the strange, spatial quality of someone standing right behind her shoulder. "Who is this?" Vanessa asked, her voice trembling. Is this a prank? Mark? If this is some kind of birthday joke, it's not funny. The white line on the screen began to dance, forming jagged peaks with every syllable. It's not a joke, the girl's voice whispered. I've been waiting for the signal to stabilize. My name is Katie. Katie Turner. Please, don't put the phone down. If you close the app, I don't know if I can find my way back. Vanessa stared at the device. The name Katie Turner felt vaguely familiar, like a headline she'd scanned months ago and quickly forgotten. Katie Turner is dead, Vanessa said, her breath hitching. There was an accident. On the M4. It was in the papers. The static on the line intensified, sounding almost like a sob. That's what he wants everyone to think, the voice replied, growing clearer, more desperate. But I didn't die in a car. I died in a dark room with his hands around my throat. And Vanessa, he's looking for you now, because he knows the signal is live. Vanessa looked toward her darkened hallway, the shadows suddenly seeming to stretch toward her. The birthday cake was forgotten. The silence of the house was gone, replaced by the ghost in her hand. Outside, a car door slammed. Chapter 2. The $800 Million Ghost. The sound of the car door slamming outside reverberated through the thin glass of Vanessa's front window. She sat bolt upright, her fingers white-knuckled around the titanium frame of her phone. Vanessa? Are you there? The voice, Katie whispered. It sounded clearer now, less like a radio transmission and more like a secret being hissed directly into her ear canal. Vanessa didn't answer. She crept toward the window, peeling back the edge of the heavy linen curtain. A dark SUV was idling at the curb 3 houses down. Its headlights were off, but the glow from the dashboard illuminated a silhouette in the driver's seat. Just sitting, waiting. Who is that? Vanessa breathed, her heart hammering a frantic rhythm against her ribs. That's not him, Katie's voice crackled. Not yet. But he has people, Vanessa. He has eyes everywhere. My uncle doesn't leave loose ends, and right now, I am the loosest end in the world. Vanessa backed away from the window, retreating into the kitchen where the shadows felt less exposed. This is impossible. You're an app. This is some kind of AI prank. Deepfake audio. A virus. I wish I were a virus, Katie said, a bitter edge cutting through the youthful tone. Viruses can be deleted. I was murdered, Vanessa, 3 months ago, in a basement in Greenwich. My uncle, Sebastian Turner, told the world I lost control of my car on the slick roads near the coast. He even bought the police report. It's easy to buy the truth when you have $800 million. Vanessa leaned against the marble countertop, the cold stone seeping through her silk blouse. The number hit her like a physical blow. 800 million. Why me? Vanessa gasped. I'm an architect. I design office buildings. I don't know you. I don't know your uncle. Why is this thing on my phone? Because you were the only one with a clean signal, Katie explained, the white frequency line on the screen spiking with her urgency. My father. He was a genius in systems architecture. Before he died, he set up a fail-safe, a digital dead man's switch linked to my biometric data. When my heart stopped, the data didn't vanish. It looked for a host, a device with a specific security patch that hadn't been compromised by my uncle's firm, Turner Tech. You bought this phone yesterday, didn't you? Vanessa nodded instinctively. My birthday gift to myself. From an independent retailer. Exactly. It was a window. I jumped through it. I'm not alive in the way you are, Vanessa. I'm fragments. I'm the ghost in the machine. I have access to his emails, his GPS, his bank accounts, but I can't speak to the world. I need a voice. I need yours. Suddenly, the phone vibrated violently. A new window popped up over the black screen. It was a bank statement glowing in high definition. Account holder, Sebastian Turner, trustee. Balance, $812,400,000. He killed a 19-year-old girl for this? Vanessa whispered, horrified. He tried to break the trust legally for years, Katie said. When the final court date approached and it was clear I would win, he changed tactics. He didn't want the company. He wanted the liquidation value. He wants to burn it all down and disappear with the gold. Vanessa, look at the bottom of the screen. Vanessa scrolled down. Below the balance was a list of recent transactions. One, highlighted in red, caught her eye. Payment, $50,000. Private security consultant, recovery/cleanup. Location tag, 2.4 miles from current location. Vanessa's blood turned to ice. 2.4 miles? That's the shopping center down the road. He knows the signal is active. Katie's voice turned sharp, commanding. He doesn't know it's you yet, but he's narrowing the search. He's tracking the data packet. You need to leave. Now, grab your keys, grab your coat, and do not, under any circumstances, turn off the phone. I should call the police, Vanessa cried, her hand shaking as she reached for the landline. No, he owns the precinct. If you call them, you're calling him. Look at the window again, Vanessa. Move. Vanessa dashed back to the living room. The dark SUV was no longer 3 houses down. It was pulling up directly onto her driveway. The engine died. The light stayed off. In the silence of her 45th birthday, Vanessa heard the distinct, metallic click of a car door opening. Katie, Vanessa whispered, her voice cracking. What do I do? The back door, the ghost replied, her voice now steady and cold. Through the garden. There's a gray sedan parked in the alleyway. The keys are under the wheel well. Don't ask how I know. I'm in his cloud, Vanessa. I'm in everyone's cloud now. Run. Vanessa didn't look back at her lemon cake or her wine. She grabbed her coat, bolted through the kitchen, and disappeared in the night, guided by the glowing light of a dead girl's voice. Chapter 3. The Highway to Hell. The damp air of the alleyway bit into Vanessa's lungs as she stumbled over a discarded wooden crate. Her breath came in ragged, visible plumes. Behind her, the silhouette of her own house looked like a tomb, its windows dark and unseeing. She reached the gray sedan Katie had described, a nondescript, dusty vehicle that looked like it belonged to a ghost. She reached under the wheel well, her fingers frantic, grazing cold metal and wet grime until they closed around a magnetic key box. Quickly, Vanessa, Katie's voice urged, vibrating against her palm. The man from the SUV is at your back door. He has a thermal scanner. If you stay still for more than 30 seconds, he'll see your heat signature through the fence. Vanessa scrambled into the driver's seat. The car smelled of stale tobacco and old upholstery. She jammed the key into the ignition, and the engine turned over with a low, throaty growl. She didn't turn on the headlights. She couldn't risk the flare of light giving her away. Where am I going? Vanessa hissed, shifting into reverse. Turn left out of the alley. Head toward the industrial district. There's a blind spot in the city's CCTV grid near the old cannery. I've diverted the patrol car that usually sits there by triggering a false alarm at a jewelry store 3 miles away. Vanessa's jaw dropped. You can do that? You can control the city. I am Data. Vanessa, Katie replied, and for a second, the white line on the screen flickered with a strange, haunting pride. I am the traffic servers, the emergency dispatch, the cloud-based security systems. To the world, I'm a dead girl. To the internet, I am a god. But I need your hands to drive. I need your eyes to see the road. My uncle, he doesn't just have money. He has Turner Tech. He's using an experimental satellite uplink to find this specific encrypted signal. We have to keep moving. As Vanessa accelerated onto the main road, her knuckles white on the steering wheel, the phone screen changed. The bank statement vanished, replaced by a grainy, black-and-white video file. What is this? Vanessa asked, glancing down. Watch. This is why I can't let him win, Katie whispered. The video was from a hidden security camera dated 3 months ago. It showed a sterile, modern office. A young girl, Katie, was sitting at a desk, her face pale, her eyes red from crying. A man entered the frame. He was tall, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit, with silver hair and a face that looked like it had been carved from granite. Sebastian Turner. You're being difficult, Katie, the man in the video said. His voice was smooth, like expensive scotch. The company needs leadership, not a grieving child playing at being an heiress. Just sign the transfer of trusteeship. It's what Dad wanted, Uncle Sebastian, the girl in the video replied, her voice trembling but defiant. He knew what you do to the employees. He knew you'd strip the assets. I won't sign. Sebastian didn't shout. He didn't even look angry. He simply walked behind her, placed his hands on her shoulders, and squeezed. Not a gesture of comfort, a gesture of ownership. Then you've left me with a very expensive problem, he murmured. The video cut to black just as Sebastian's hands moved toward her throat. Vanessa felt a wave of nausea wash over her. She swerved slightly, narrowly missing a curb. He did it himself? He didn't even hire someone. He wanted to feel the life leave me. Katie's voice was now a cold, digital rasp. He thinks he's superior. He thinks laws are suggestions for people with less than 9 zeros in their bank account. But he made a mistake. He used his own Turner Tech encrypted tablet to record the confession he tried to force out of me. He thought he deleted it. He didn't realize that in the moment of my death, my father's software synced our devices. I crawled into his hardware like a parasite. Suddenly, the car's dashboard navigation screen flickered to life. It wasn't showing a map. It was showing a live feed of a black SUV, the one for Vanessa's house, tearing through the streets, only 2 blocks behind them. He's gained on us, Katie warned, the static in her voice rising. He's bypassed the signal scrambler I set up. Vanessa, you need to floor it. Take the ramp onto the I-95. Now, I'm going 80 already. Vanessa cried. Make 100. I'm going to turn every light on this corridor green for you. But for him, I'm going to make the city a labyrinth. Go! Vanessa slammed her foot on the gas. The engine roared, and the speedometer climbed. As she approached the intersection, the traffic lights turned green exactly 1 second before she hit the line. Behind her, she heard the screech of tires and the crunch of metal as Katie flipped the cross-traffic lights to red, causing a pileup that blocked the SUV's path. We made it. Vanessa gasped, her heart hammering against her ribs. We lost him. For now, Katie said. But look at your phone, Vanessa. Look at the notification. Vanessa glanced down. A text message had appeared on her screen. It wasn't from a number. It was from private. Happy birthday, Vanessa Reddington. 45 is a dangerous age to start playing with things that don't belong to you. I'm coming for my phone, and I'm coming for the girl. The car's interior lights suddenly began to strobe. Red, white, red, white. The locks on the doors clicked shut with a sound like a gunshot. He's hacking the car's ECU, Katie screamed. Vanessa, jump. You have to jump before he locks the brakes. Chapter 4. The Kill Switch. The gray sedan was no longer a sanctuary. It was a high-speed metal coffin. The speedometer needle climbed steadily, hovering near 110 miles per hour, though Vanessa's foot had long since lifted from the accelerator. The engine roared in a mechanical frenzy, a digital virus overriding the car's brain. Through the windshield, the industrial district's jagged skyline blurred into a smear of gray and rusted orange. I can't stop it, Vanessa screamed, her hands wrestling with a steering wheel that had gone stiff and unresponsive. Katie, the brakes are dead. He's bypassed my firewall. Katie's voice was distorted now, competing with the screech of the car's internal alarms. He's using a military-grade override from the Turner Tech mainframe. Vanessa, he's going to ram you into the harbor wall. You have to get out. Now, at this speed, I'll die. There's a stack of industrial sandbags ahead, near the pier construction site. I'm going to kill the steering lock for exactly half a second. When I say turn, you yank it hard right. The car will flip, but the bags will catch the cabin. You have to trust me. Vanessa looked at the phone. The white frequency line was flickering wildly, almost as if Katie were straining against an invisible weight. Every instinct in Vanessa's body told her to stay strapped in, to pray for a miracle. But then she saw the wall, a massive, reinforced concrete barrier at the end of the straightaway. At 110 miles per hour, there wouldn't even be enough of her left to bury. 3, 2, 1, turn. Vanessa hauled the wheel to the right with every ounce of strength she possessed. For a terrifying heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, a mechanical clunk echoed through the chassis. The car swerved violently. The tires shrieked, the smell of burning rubber filling the cabin. The world went upside down. The impact was a deafening roar of crushing metal and exploding glass. Vanessa felt the jarring thud of the sandbags, a soft, heavy impact that saved her life but sent her brain rattling against her skull. The sedan rolled once, twice, and came to a rest on its side, the wheels still spinning uselessly in the midnight air. Silence rushed back in, punctuated only by the tink-tink-tink of cooling metal. Vanessa gasped, the taste of copper in her mouth. Her vision was swimming in a sea of red. She was hanging by her seatbelt, the glass of the side window shattered beneath her. Her phone was wedged between the dashboard and the crumpled windshield, its screen cracked, but still glowing with that eerie, persistent white line. Vanessa! Vanessa! Get up! Katie's voice was a ragged whisper. He's already rerouting. He knows you survived the crash. His cleanup team is 4 minutes away. With a groan that felt like it was tearing her ribs apart, Vanessa fumbled for the seatbelt release. She tumbled onto the broken glass, her hands bleeding, her birthday dress ruined and stained with oil. She grabbed the phone, the glass shards biting into her palm. I can't do this, Katie, Vanessa sobbed, crawling out through the jagged hole where the windshield used to be. I'm 45. I'm an architect. I don't run from professional killers. You're not an architect tonight, Katie snapped, her voice regaining its sharpness. Tonight, you're the only person who can make him pay. Look at the water, Vanessa. To your left. Vanessa stood up, swaying on her feet. The harbor was a black abyss, the water oily and still. Across the pier, she saw the lights of a security gate. There's an old maintenance tunnel under Pier 9. It's not on the modern blueprints, but it's in the legacy servers. If you get in there, the concrete is thick enough to mask the signal. He won't be able to pin your GPS. Vanessa began to run, her heels discarded somewhere in the wreckage. The cold pavement was brutal against her bare feet. Behind her, in the distance, she heard the low hum of an approaching engine. Not the SUV this time. Something faster. A motorcycle. He sent a sweeper, Katie warned. Professional. Silent. Vanessa, if he catches you, he won't ask questions. He's been told to retrieve the device and neutralize the witness. Vanessa reached the rusted iron grate of the maintenance tunnel. She pulled at it, her muscles screaming, the heavy metal stubborn with decades of salt and rust. It didn't budge. It's locked, Katie. I'm trapped. The roar of the motorcycle was closer now. A single, piercing LED headlight swept over the pier, searching the shadows like a shark's eye. The keypad, Katie shouted. The old security box to the right. Punch in 0-8-1-2. It's his birthday. The man is so arrogant he uses his own birth date for everything he thinks is hidden. Vanessa punched the numbers with trembling fingers. Beep, 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 beep. The electromagnetic lock hissed and released. Vanessa threw herself inside, pulling the heavy grate shut just as the motorcycle skidded to a halt 20 yards away. Through the bars, she saw a figure in matte black tactical gear dismount. He didn't look like a man. He looked like a machine, a helmeted shadow holding a suppressed pistol. Vanessa backed away into the pitch-black tunnel, the smell of salt and decay filling her nose. He's right there, she whispered, her back hitting the cold, damp wall of the tunnel. Katie breathed. Stay perfectly still. I'm going to do something risky. I'm going to leak a ghost signal to the warehouse across the street. If I can mimic your phone's ID, he'll follow the ghost. On the phone screen, Vanessa watched a digital map. A small blue dot representing her began to split. A decoy started moving away, deeper into the industrial park. Outside, the sweeper paused. He looked at his wrist-mounted tracker, then turned and ran toward the warehouse. Vanessa slumped against the wall, her heart finally slowing from a sprint to a gallop. We're safe. For a minute. No, Katie said, and for the first time, there was a deep, haunting sadness in her voice. We're not safe. He just accessed your home security cloud, Vanessa. He's looking at your photos, your files. He's looking at the address of your daughter's dorm in London. Vanessa's blood turned to liquid nitrogen. No, she's thousands of miles away. He can't. To a man with $800 million, distance is just a line on a map. He's not just trying to kill you anymore, Vanessa. He's trying to leverage you. He wants the signal back, and he knows exactly which button to press to make you give it to him. Vanessa gripped the phone so hard the cracked glass drew more blood. The fear was gone, replaced by a cold, maternal rage that burned hotter than any fire. How we stop him, Katie? Truly stop him. We stop being the prey, Katie replied, the white line on the screen turning a jagged, aggressive red. We're going to rob him. Not of his life, of his power. We're going to empty his accounts before the sun comes up. Are you ready to become a thief, Vanessa? Chapter 5. The Digital Heist. The maintenance tunnel was a narrow, claustrophobic vein of concrete and salt, lit only by the fractured glow of Vanessa's phone. Water dripped from a rusted pipe somewhere in the dark, a steady drip drop that sounded like a countdown. Vanessa's hands were no longer shaking. The threat to her daughter had acted like a chemical stabilizer, turning her terror into a sharp, crystalline focus. She sat on a discarded crate, the cracked screen of her phone reflecting in her wide, dark eyes. Empty his accounts? Vanessa whispered, her voice echoing off the damp walls. How? He's the king of Turner Tech. He'll see us coming. He's the king, yes, Katie's voice replied, now sounding strangely amplified in the tunnel's acoustics. But every king builds his throne on a foundation of subordinates. Sebastian doesn't manage his own money, not manually. He uses an AI-driven wealth management system called Midas. It's designed to move funds faster than any human regulator can track. It's his pride and joy. And it's also his greatest vulnerability. Because you can talk to it, Vanessa realized. Better than that, I can impersonate him. But Midas requires a physical key for transfers over 10 million. It's a biometric hardware token. He keeps it in his private study at the Turner estate. I can bypass the digital locks, but I need someone on the ground to physically bridge the gap between his private server and the open web. Vanessa wiped a smear of blood from her forehead. You want me to break into his house? The man who is currently hunting me with professional assassins. It's the last place he'll expect you to be, Katie said, the white line on the screen pulsing with a rhythmic, hypnotic beat. His sweepers are scouring the city, the docks, and the highways. They think you're running. They don't think you're coming for the crown jewels. The phone screen flickered, revealing a blueprint layout of a massive, modernist mansion. It looked more like a fortress than a home, all glass, steel, and high-end security sensors. I've ordered an autonomous rideshare to the end of the service road, Katie continued. I've spoofed the account of one of his junior executives. The car is empty. No driver to ask questions. Get in, and I'll take care of the rest. Vanessa stood up, her bare feet stinging as she moved through the grime of the tunnel. She felt like a different person than the woman who had blown out 45 candles just hours ago. That woman was a builder of structures. This woman was becoming a destroyer of empires. 10 minutes later, Vanessa was slumped in the back of a sleek, black electric car, speeding silently toward the outskirts of the city. The windows were tinted so darkly she couldn't see the world outside, but the phone kept her informed. We're 3 miles out, Katie whispered. Sebastian is currently at his corporate headquarters, personally overseeing the recovery of his property me. He thinks I'm still trapped in the city's grid. He doesn't know I've moved into the car's local network. And the guards at the estate, I've set the house to maintenance mode. The external cameras will show a looped feed of a quiet night. The infrared sensors are being recalibrated as we speak. They'll see you as a stray dog or a gust of wind. But Vanessa, once you're inside the study, the Midas Vault has an independent air gap system. I can't reach it. You'll have to plug your phone into the physical port. The car slowed to a crawl, then stopped. The doors hissed open. Vanessa stepped out into the crisp night air. Before her stood the Turner estate. It was a monument to ego, perched on a cliffside overlooking the ocean. The house was dark, save for a few security lights that flickered with an unnatural rhythm. Katie's way of saying, "Come in." Vanessa sprinted across the manicured lawn, her heart a drumbeat in her ears. She reached the side entrance, a heavy glass door with a biometric scanner. As her hand neared the handle, the scanner turned from red to green with a soft chirp. "Go," Katie urged. 3rd floor. The door with a mahogany inlay. The interior of the house was a museum of stolen wealth. Picassos on the walls, ancient sculptures in the hallways. Vanessa ignored it all. She climbed the stairs, her breath coming in shallow gasps. She reached the study. The room smelled of old paper and expensive tobacco. On the desk sat a small, silver device, the Midas key. Vanessa fumbled with her charging cable, her fingers slick with sweat. She plugged the phone into the keys port. The screen exploded into a frenzy of red and gold data streams. "I'm in," Katie hissed, her voice filled with a terrifying, vengeful joy. "Midas is opening the gates." "Vanessa, look at the monitor on the wall." A massive screen on the study wall hummed to life. Numbers began to tumble. $812 million. $750 million. $600 million. The money was being diverted, sliced into thousands of microtransactions, and sent to offshore accounts, charitable foundations, and anonymous crypto wallets that Katie had spent the last 3 months preparing. Suddenly, a siren began to wail. Not the house alarm, but a sharp, rhythmic pulsing from the Midas key itself. "No!" Katie screamed. "A physical failsafe." Sebastian has a heartbeat monitor on his watch. He knows the vault is being emptied. The phone in Vanessa's hand vibrated. A video call was forcing its way through. Vanessa answered. The screen showed Sebastian Turner. He wasn't in office. He was in the back of a moving vehicle, his face distorted with a primal, animalistic rage. "Vanessa Reddington," he snarled, the sound echoing through the quiet study. "I am 10 minutes away. If you stop the transfer now, I might let you live. If you don't, I will make what I did to Katie look like an act of mercy." Vanessa looked at the screen, then at the numbers still tumbling on the wall. $200 million. $150 million. "It's my birthday, Sebastian," Vanessa said, her voice surprisingly steady. "And I've decided I don't like your gift." "Vanessa, look out the window," Katie yelled. A helicopter was banking over the ocean, its spotlight cutting through the dark like a blade, heading straight for the estate. "He's not 10 minutes away," Katie cried. "He's here." Chapter 6. The Eye of the Storm. The roar of the helicopter blades was no longer a distant hum. It was a physical vibration that rattled the floorboards of the study and caused the fine crystal decanters on the sideboard to dance. The spotlight swept across the room, a blinding white eye that illuminated the dust motes and the frantic, tumbling numbers on the wall monitor. $84 million. $62 million. "He's dropping onto the roof." Katie's voice was a jagged shard of sound. "Vanessa, the transfer is at 88%. If you unplug now, the encryption will collapse and the banks will freeze the remaining funds. They'll get it all back in the morning." "I can't stay here, Katie. He's going to kill me," Vanessa shouted over the crescendo of the rotors. "The desk. It's reinforced steel under the mahogany. Get under it." Vanessa dived beneath the massive desk just as the glass skylight above the study shattered. A rain of diamond-sharp shards pelted the room. 2 figures in black tactical gear rappelled down, their boots hitting the Persian rug with a dull thud. They didn't move like policemen. They moved like predators. "Clear," one of them barked. Then came a different sound, the slow, rhythmic click of leather Oxfords on the hardwood. Sebastian Turner stepped through the wreckage of his own ceiling, brushing a stray piece of glass from the lapel of his coat. He looked remarkably calm, save for the vein pulsing in his temple. "Enough of this theater," Sebastian said. His voice was cold, carrying easily through the room despite the wind howling through the broken roof. "Vanessa, I know you're under there, and I know she is in that phone." He walked toward the desk. Vanessa pressed her back against the cold steel, clutching the phone to her chest. The Midas key was still connected, the cable stretched taut. $31 million. $22 million. "You're an architect, Vanessa," Sebastian continued, his voice closer now. "You understand structures. You understand that when a foundation is compromised, the whole building must be raised. You are a compromise. My niece, she was a structural flaw." "Don't listen to him," Katie whispered in Vanessa's ear, her voice barely audible over the static. "I'm uploading the murder confession to the global media servers. I just need 60 more seconds of bandwidth. Keep him talking." Vanessa took a shaky breath. "She wasn't a flaw, Sebastian. She was your family. Sebastian laughed, a dry, hacking sound. Family is a biological coincidence. Power is a choice. Now, hand over the device, and I will ensure your daughter's accident in London is quick. If you refuse, I'll make her disappearance a very long, very documented process. Vanessa's grip tightened on the phone. You've already lost, Sebastian. Look at the screen. Sebastian glanced up at the monitor. For $1 million. $1 million. $0. Transfer complete. Account balance. $0. The silence that followed was more terrifying than the helicopter. Sebastian stared at the zero. His empire, his leverage, his digital blood drained away into the void. Kill her, he said quietly. The two mercenaries raised their suppressed rifles. Now, Katie screamed. Suddenly, every electronic device in the room went haywire. The heavy motorized curtains began to whip open and shut. The smart lighting system strobed at a frequency designed to induce disorientation. But the masterstroke was the sound. Katie didn't just play noise. She channeled the high-decibel emergency override of the house's integrated Sonos system. A piercing 120-decibel screech that hit the mercenaries like a physical blow. The men dropped their weapons, clutching their ears, their balance shattered by the sonic assault. Run, Vanessa! To the balcony. The infinity pool. Vanessa scrambled from under the desk. She didn't look at Sebastian, who was reeling, his face contorted in pain as the sound tore through the room. She sprinted for the glass doors leading to the balcony. She burst into the night air, the wind from the hovering helicopter whipping her hair. Below her, the infinity pool blurred into the dark Atlantic Ocean hundreds of feet below the cliffside. There's nowhere to go. Sebastian roared, stumbling out onto the balcony behind her. He had a small, silver pistol in his hand now. His ears were bleeding, but his eyes were fixed on the phone. Give it to me. Vanessa, jump, Katie said. Her voice was suddenly calm, almost peaceful. Jump? It's a 100-foot drop. The pool is 10 feet deep, but the spillover goes into a hidden secondary reservoir. I've opened the drainage gates. It'll carry you straight into the sea-level grotto. I have a boat waiting. Trust me one last time. Sebastian leveled the gun. Last chance, Vanessa. Vanessa looked at the phone. The white line on the screen transitioned into a small, grainy image, a photo of a young girl smiling in the sun. Katie, happy birthday to me, Vanessa whispered. She didn't wait for him to fire. She tucked the phone into her waistband and threw herself backward, off the edge of the world. As she fell, the last thing she heard wasn't the wind or the gunshots. It was Katie's voice, ringing clear and triumphant through the speakers. Uploading. 100%. See you in hell, Uncle. Chapter 7. The Ghost in the Grotto. The fall felt like an eternity compressed into a single, heart-stopping second. Gravity clawed at Vanessa's stomach as the wind ripped the breath from her lungs. Then the world exploded into a frigid, crushing blue. She hit the water of the infinity pool's spillover reservoir with the force of a car crash. The impact drove the air from her body, and for a moment, the darkness of the water threatened to pull her under for good. But then a powerful artificial current seized her. Just as Katie had promised, the drainage gates were wide open. Vanessa was sucked into a massive concrete throat, a bypass pipe that roared with the sound of 1,000 storms. She tumbled through the dark, battered by the rushing water, until, with a final, violent surge, she was spat out into the open air of the sea-level grotto. Vanessa breached the surface, gasping, her lungs burning with the sting of salt and adrenaline. The grotto was a natural cathedral of jagged rock and echoing surf, hidden deep beneath the Turner estate. Above, the muffled thud-thud-thud of the helicopter still vibrated through the stone, but down here, she was a ghost. Katie, Vanessa choked out, treadling water as she looked around the shadows. No answer. Panic flared. Vanessa reached for her waistband. Her fingers closed around the cold, wet casing of the phone. She pulled it out. The screen was dark. No. Katie, please. Vanessa scrambled toward a flat shelf of rock, dragging her exhausted body out of the water. She laid the phone on the stone like a sacred relic. Don't leave me now. Not after all that. She pressed the power button. Nothing. The immersion in the spillover, despite the phone's waterproof rating, seemed to have been the final blow for a device already shattered and overworked. Vanessa slumped against the cold cave wall, shivering violently. The silence of the grotto was deafening. For the first time since the night began, she was truly alone. No digital voice, number $800 million ghost. Just a middle-aged woman in a tattered dress, hiding in a hole in the earth. Then, a faint ping echoed in the darkness. Vanessa's head snapped up. It didn't come from her phone. It came from the shadows at the back of the grotto. A small, sleek motorboat was moored there, bobbing gently on the tide. Its dashboard was alive with glowing blue lights. As Vanessa approached, trembling, the boat's external speakers crackled to life. "Did you really think a little water could stop me?" Vanessa let out a sob of pure relief. "Katie, you're in a boat." "I'm in the boat. I'm in the satellite uplink. And as of 30 seconds ago, I am on every news screen from New York to Tokyo," the voice said, sounding more vibrant than ever. "While you're taking your swim, I released the inheritance files, the video of my murder, the bank records, the offshore payrolls for his private sweepers. Sebastian Turner isn't just broke, Vanessa. He's the most wanted man on the planet." Vanessa climbed onto the boat. On the mounted GPS screen, a news feed was playing in a small window. She saw images of the Turner estate surrounded by police cruisers. She saw Sebastian being led out in handcuffs, his face no longer granite hard, but pale and broken. The sweepers had vanished into the night, abandoned by a boss who could no longer pay for their silence. "But we have to move," Katie warned. "The police will find this grotto eventually. And Sebastian has friends who might still try to salvage the wreckage." "Where are we going?" Vanessa asked, taking the wheel. "London," Katie replied. "I've cleared a flight path for a private medical transport, leaving from the local airfield in 20 minutes. I've already updated your passport status in the national database. You're going to get your daughter, Vanessa, and then you're going to disappear. And you." Vanessa looked at the dashboard, at the flickering blue light that represented the girl who had saved her life. "What happens to you when the money is gone and the truth is out?" There was a long pause. The sound of the waves lapping against the hull was the only noise in the cave. "I don't know," Katie said softly. "I'm fragments, remember? Maybe I'll fade into the background noise of the internet. Or maybe I'll stay. There are a lot of people in the world like my uncle Vanessa. People who think they own the light. Maybe they need someone like me lurking in the shadows of their phones." Vanessa turned the key. The boat's engine purred to life, a perfect, high-performance machine. "Then let's go," Vanessa said, a grim smile touching her lips. "We have a flight to catch." As the boat sped out of the grotto and into the moonlit Atlantic, Vanessa's phone, still lying on the deck, suddenly flickered to life one last time. A message appeared on the cracked screen, glowing bright against the dark. User 1, Vanessa Reddington. User 2, Katie Turner. Status: connected forever. Chapter 8, The London Shadow. The transatlantic flight was a surreal blur of adrenaline and agonizing exhaustion. As the private medical jet cut through the night sky above the Atlantic, Vanessa sat in a plush leather seat, her hands, once stained with the grime of a car crash, now washed and wrapped in sterile gauze from the plane's first aid kit. The medical transport was a masterpiece of digital deception. Katie had forged the flight manifests, listing Vanessa as a specialist nurse accompanying an urgent organ transplant. But in the cabin, she was alone with the humming of the engines and the voice in the speakers. "We're crossing the coast of Ireland," Katie's voice announced through the cabin's intercom. "Touchdown at Nordholt is in 40 minutes. I've pre-cleared a black cab at the VIP exit. Vanessa, we have to move fast. I'm seeing ripples in the cloud that I don't like." "What kind of ripples?" Vanessa asked, staring at her reflection in the darkened window. The woman looking back was older, harder, with a cold steel in her eyes she had never recognized before. "Sebastian is behind bars, but his black fund, a hidden escrow account even I almost missed, has been triggered," Katie replied. Her voice sounded brittle, as if the distance between the US and European servers was physically taxing her. A payment was made to an individual in London, someone not on the Turner Tech payroll, a freelancer. They call him the Eraser. Vanessa felt a familiar chill settle in her marrow. He's going after Sophie. He's shadowing her, waiting for you to show up. He wants the phone, Vanessa. He thinks if he gets the physical hardware, he can initiate a hard wipe and erase my presence from the architecture before the murder trial begins. The landing was smooth, but London was anything but welcoming. The city was swallowed by a thick, charcoal fog that choked the streetlights. Vanessa stepped into the waiting taxi. The driver didn't say a word. Katie had already pushed the coordinates to his GPS and settled the fare via a ghost account. "Drive faster," Vanessa whispered to the back of the driver's head, though she knew he couldn't hear her over the partition. They pulled up in front of a stately Victorian building in Kensington, Sophie's student hall. It was nearly 4 a.m. The street was deserted, save for the distant hiss of a red double-decker bus on the main road. Vanessa sprinted to the heavy oak door, punching in the entry code Katie whispered through her earpiece. The hallways smelled of floor wax and old paper. She took the stairs 2 at a time, heart hammering against her ribs, until she reached room 304. Sophie, open up." Vanessa pounded on the door. After an eternity, the door creaked open. Sophie stood there, bleary-eyed in an oversized hoodie, her face pale with shock. "Mom, what are you doing here? It's the middle of the night. You look like you've been in a war." "Pack a bag. Now, we're leaving," Vanessa said, pushing into the room and locking the door behind her. "What's going on? You're bleeding." Sophie's voice rose in a frantic pitch. Before Vanessa could answer, her phone, not her own shattered device, but Sophie's iPhone on the nightstand, began to vibrate violently. "Vanessa, don't talk." Katie's voice came through Sophie's phone, sharp and panicked. "He's in the building. He took the service lift. He's on the 3rd floor. He's 20 yards from your door." Sophie stared at her phone, her breath hitching. "Ooh, who is that?" "A friend," Vanessa said, grabbing Sophie's arm. "The fire escape." "Is there a fire escape?" "At the end of the hall, but it's always alarmed," Sophie stammered. "Not tonight," Katie said. "Run." They burst into the hallway. At the far end, they heard the mechanical ping of the elevator. The doors slid open. A tall man in a gray trench coat stepped out. He wore no mask, no gloves. He had the face of an accountant, perfectly unremarkable, except for the unnatural, predatory stillness of his movements. "Mrs. Reddington," the man said. His voice was soft, almost polite. "I require the device." "Run, Sophie," Vanessa screamed. They flew toward the fire door. The man began a jog, not a sprint, but a steady, efficient pace that was far more terrifying. Vanessa reached the door and shoved. It held firm. "Katie!" Vanessa shrieked. At that moment, the hallway lights flickered and died. The emergency red strobes began to pulse. With a loud, magnetic clack, the fire doors locked disengaged. Vanessa and Sophie plummeted down the metal stairs into the freezing night air. Behind them, they heard the door hiss shut and lock again, trapping the man inside. "I've jammed the door," Katie said through the building's external security speakers. "But he won't stay down for long. There's a car around the corner." "Sophie, give your mother your phone. I need more processing power." The London grid is heavy. As they scrambled into the car and the engine roared to life, Vanessa saw the man in the gray coat calmly walking out of the building's front entrance. He didn't look frustrated. He looked at his watch, a device that glowed with a strange, pulsing blue light. He wasn't just chasing them. He was sinking. Chapter 9. The Tower Bridge Trap. The black cab tore through the London fog like a ghost ship. Sophie was huddled in the corner of the seat, her eyes fixed on her mother. She was holding her phone as if it were a live grenade. "Mom, please," Sophie whispered. That girl's voice, she sounded like she was inside the walls. "She's a guardian, Sophie," Vanessa said, her voice tight. She was watching the rearview mirror. The gray van was still there, a constant, menacing shadow. And right now, she's the only thing standing between us and that man. "Vanessa," Katie's voice broke through the car's Bluetooth speakers, distorted by a heavy layer of static. I'm losing the handshake with the city's traffic net. He's deploying a wide-spectrum jammer. He's not just trying to stop the car. He's trying to isolate me. If he cuts the signal completely, I'll be trapped in the car's local hard drive. I won't be able to protect you. How far to the bridge? Vanessa shouted. 2 blocks. But he's closing the gap. Look out. The gray van accelerated, slamming into the rear of the taxi. The impact sent them fishtailing across the slick cobblestones. Sophie screamed as her head hit the window. I've got you, I've got you, Vanessa yelled, reaching over to shield her daughter. The taxi's engine coughed and died just as they reached the massive stone shadows of Tower Bridge. The eraser's van screeched to a halt 20 yards behind them. The man in the gray coat stepped out. He wasn't holding a gun. He was holding a sleek, black tablet with 4 high-gain antennas. He tapped the screen, and the streetlights on the bridge began to explode one by one, plunging them into near-total darkness. Erut, get out now. Katie's voice was a frantic rasp. He's uploading a crush script to the car's airbags. If they deploy now, they'll break your necks. Run for the South Tower. Vanessa dragged Sophie out of the car. They sprinted onto the bridge, their feet thundering against the metal grating. Below them, the Thames was a black, swirling abyss. The eraser followed, his pace measured. Every time he tapped his tablet, the environment reacted. The bridge's emergency sirens gave a short, pathetic wail before dying. The security gates groaned and locked. He was systematically stripping Katie of her weapons. There! Vanessa pointed to a heavy iron maintenance door. It swung open with a pneumatic hiss just as they reached it. They scrambled inside, entering the heart of the bridge, a labyrinth of massive Victorian gears, grease-slicked pistons, and humming electrical cabinets. The central hub, Katie's voice echoed from a diagnostic monitor on the wall. Her digital avatar, the white frequency line, was flatlining, barely a pulse. Vanessa, the blue fiber-optic cable in the corner, plugged Sophie's phone into the bypass port. I need to reach the City of London's mainframe. It's the only server with enough cooling and power to fight his jammer. Vanessa fumbled with the cable. Behind them, the iron door began to groan. The eraser was outside, using his tablet to override the electronic lock. I can't get it in. Vanessa's fingers were slick with sweat and old blood. The port is shielded. Let me, Sophie said, her voice suddenly steady. She grabbed the cable and the phone, her young eyes catching the port that Vanessa had missed in her panic. Click! The room erupted. The massive engines that powered the bridge's bascules began to roar to life. Huge steel teeth began to grind, a sound like a mountain being crushed. Outside, the bridge started to rise, the road splitting open to the night sky. I have the power. Katie's voice boomed through the industrial speakers, vibrating the very floor beneath their feet. On the bridge now. The door burst open. The eraser stepped in. For the first time, his calm expression was gone. He looked at the screaming machinery, then at the tablet in his hand. It was glowing a violent, angry red. You're a dead girl, Katie. The eraser shouted over the roar of the gears. You're just a glitch in a dying system. A glitch. Katie's voice was cold, echoing with the weight of $800 million and a stolen life. I'm a system. And you? You're just a bug. The eraser lunged toward Vanessa, a combat knife appearing in his hand. But he never reached her. Katie triggered the high-voltage fire suppression system. A blast of pressurized CO2 hit the eraser, knocking him backward toward the giant, rotating gears. He scrambled to his feet, but the floor beneath him, a motorized maintenance platform, began to slide. Vanessa pulled the phone. Katie screamed, I'm going to dump the entire electrical load of the Kensington grid into this room. It'll fry everything. Jump toward the exit. Vanessa grabbed Sophie and dived toward the open doorway. Behind them, a blinding arc of blue electricity leaped from the main transformers. It hit the eraser's tablet, traveling up his arm in a split second. The man let out a silent, strangled cry as the sheer force of the city's power surged through him. A massive explosion of sparks and white light followed. Vanessa and Sophie tumbled out onto the rising walkway of the bridge. They watched as the lights of the South Tower flickered, pulsed, and then went dark. The hum of the machinery died. The bridge stayed half open, a jagged silhouette against the London sky. Silence fell, broken only by the distant sound of police sirens crossing the water. Vanessa looked at her daughter's phone. The screen was scorched, the plastic melted. Is she gone? Sophie whispered, tears tracking through the soot on her face. Vanessa looked up at the Shard, the tallest building in London. Its tip was still lit, and for a fleeting second, the lights flickered in a pattern. The same white frequency wave Vanessa had first seen on her 45th birthday. No, Vanessa said, hugging her daughter tight. She's just moved house. Chapter 10. The Highland Reckoning. The aftermath of the London Bridge battle was a whirlwind of sirens and shadows. Under the cover of the chaos, Katie had guided them to a nondescript laundry van, then a train, and finally a rugged 4x4 parked in the long-term lot at Inverness Station. They were now deep in the Scottish Highlands. The mist here wasn't like London smog. It was ancient, smelling of peat and cold rain. They were heading toward a remote estate Katie had identified in Sebastian's lost files, Blackwood Keep. "Mom, look," Sophie whispered, pointing at the dashboard tablet. The screen flickered. The white line returned, but it was jagged, pulsing with a low, rhythmic thrum. "Vanessa." Sophie. Katie's voice was weary, sounding like a fading radio signal. "I've burned through most of my nodes to get you here." "Sebastian." "He's not in his cell anymore. He's been transferred for medical reasons. It was a breakout disguised as a heart attack. He's at the keep. He knows the digital trail ends here." "Why here?" Vanessa asked, gripping the steering wheel as the road turned into little more than a goat path. "Why come to a castle in the middle of nowhere?" "Because of the cold server," Katie replied. "Deep beneath the stone is a physical vault. It's the backup for everything. The original codes for the $800 million. If he clears that server manually, the money vanishes into a dark pool account he can access from anywhere. He'll be a ghost with a fortune. We have to stop the purge." As they rounded a jagged cliff, Blackwood Keep appeared. It was a jagged tooth of granite perched over a dark lock. No lights showed in the windows, but a high-end satellite dish hummed on the roof. "Stay in the car, Sophie," Vanessa commanded. "No way, Mom. I'm not letting you go in there alone with him." "She's right," Katie intervened. "I need her. Sophie has the phone with the secondary encryption key. I'm too weak to break the Keep's internal firewall from the outside. I need to be physically closer to the server." They approached the massive, iron-studded doors. They didn't have to knock. The locks clicked open. Katie was still fighting, even with her fading strength. The interior was a nightmare of old-world stone and high-tech intrusion. Server racks hummed in the great hall, their blue lights casting long, dancing shadows against the tapestries. "Vanessa, I knew you couldn't resist the final act." The voice came from the top of the stone staircase. Sebastian Turner stood there. He looked haggard, his charcoal suit replaced by a tactical jacket, but his eyes were bright with a manic, desperate energy. He held a tablet in one hand and a heavy-duty pistol in the other. "You've cost me everything, Vanessa," Sebastian said, descending the stairs slowly. "My company, my reputation. But money? Money is the ultimate apology. I'm going to take it back, and I'm going to burn this place with you and my darling niece inside it." "You're already a dead man, Sebastian," Vanessa said, stepping forward to shield Sophie. "The whole world saw what you did." "The world has a short memory for the wealthy," he sneered. He tapped a command on his tablet. On the wall-mounted monitors, a progress bar appeared. "Purge initiated. 15% complete." "Vanessa!" Katie's voice screamed from the server racks. "He's bypassing me. He's using a physical kill switch. You have to pull the manual override in the subfloor." "Kill the signal, Vanessa," Sebastian warned, leveling the gun at Sophie. "Or the girl dies before the money even leaves the room." Vanessa looked at the monitor. 30%. She looked at her daughter. Then she looked at the phone in Sophie's hand. "Katie," Vanessa whispered. "Do it." "Sophie, throw the phone into the cooling vent," Katie commanded. Sophie didn't hesitate. She hurled the iPhone into the floor-level intake. Sebastian fired, the bullet sparking off the stone inches from Sophie's feet. "No!" Sebastian roared, lunging toward the vent. But it was too late. The phone hit the internal bus of the server rack. "I'm inside the core." Katie's voice didn't come from the speakers anymore. It boomed from the very stone itself, vibrating through the floor. "Sebastian, look at me." Every monitor in the room suddenly displayed the same image. Katie's face, clear and vibrant, as she looked on the day she died. "You thought you could delete a soul?" Katie's digital form roared. "I am the inheritance." The server racks began to spark and whine. The cooling fans reversed, blowing a gale-force wind into the room. Sebastian scrambled toward the main console, his fingers flying over the keys, but the screen only showed one word over and over. "Guilty." "Stop it! Stop it!" he shrieked. "Vanessa, Sophie." The tunnel behind the tapestry. "Run!" Vanessa grabbed Sophie and bolted toward the back of the hall. Behind them, the servers began to melt down, the lithium batteries inside them reaching critical mass. As they dive into the narrow stone tunnel, a massive explosion rocked the keep. A fireball of blue and orange light consumed the great hall. Vanessa looked back one last time. In the heart of the fire, for a split second, she saw a shimmering silhouette, a young girl standing over a fallen man, her hand raised in a final defiant goodbye. Chapter 11. Epilogue, The Ghost in the Archive. The fire at Blackwood Keep burned for 3 days. The Scottish rain, usually so persistent, seemed to shy away from the intense, chemical heat of the server meltdown. By the time the authorities reached the ruins, there was nothing left of Sebastian Turner but a few fragments of DNA and a melted silver tablet. The cold server was gone, and with it, the digital traces of the $800 million. The world called it a tragic end to a corporate dynasty. The headline spoke of a billionaire's descent into madness and a final, desperate act of arson. Vanessa Reddington and her daughter, however, were nowhere to be found in the news. 3 months later, Marseille, France. Vanessa sat at a small, sun-drenched bistro overlooking the old port. She looked different. Her hair was shorter, dyed a deep chestnut, and the lines of stress around her eyes had softened into something resembling peace. Across from her, Sophie was sketching in a notebook, the trauma of London and the Highlands slowly fading under the Mediterranean sun. They were living under new names, with a modest but comfortable bank account that had appeared in Vanessa's name just days after the explosion. It wasn't millions, just enough for a quiet life. "Mom," Sophie asked, not looking up from her drawing, "do you think she's really gone this time?" Vanessa looked at her own phone, a new, simple model she'd bought in a local shop. "I don't know, honey. There hasn't been a sign since the keep. Maybe when the servers died, she finally found some rest." Vanessa wanted to believe that. She wanted to believe that Katie Turner was finally free from the wires and the glass. She finished her espresso and reached for her phone to check the time. As she tapped the screen, the phone didn't show the lock screen. It went black. Vanessa's heart skipped a beat. A cold shiver, a ghost of the Scottish mist, crawled up her spine. A single, thin white line appeared in the center of the screen. It didn't pulse with the frantic energy of the past. It moved with a slow, steady rhythm, like a sleeping breath. Then, a text notification slid down from the top. No number, no name, notification, system update complete. Vanessa's breath hitched. She swiped the notification. The screen transitioned to a photo, a live shot of the bistro where they were sitting. It was taken from a security camera across the street. In the photo, Vanessa and Sophie were laughing, bathed in golden light. Below the photo, a single line of text appeared. 4-5 was just the beginning, Vanessa. The world is still full of uncles. And I'm still watching the signal. The white line gave a playful, jagged spike, the digital equivalent of a wink. And then the phone returned to normal. The clock showed 12 p.m. Vanessa looked up. Across the street, a high-tech security camera on a bank building tilted slightly, its lens catching the sun for a fraction of a second before it swiveled away. Sophie looked up, noticing her mother's expression. "Mom, what is it?" Vanessa smiled, a real, knowing smile, and tucked the phone into her pocket. She felt a strange sense of security she hadn't felt in years. She wasn't just an architect anymore. She was a partner in a global, invisible justice system. "Nothing, Sophie," Vanessa said, picking up her bag. "Just a message from an old friend. Come on, let's go for a walk. I have a feeling it's going to be a beautiful day." As they walked away, every digital screen they passed, the ATMs, the bus stop displays, the sleek monitors in the shop windows, flickered for a millisecond. A white wave, hidden in the refresh rate, followed them down the street, guarding the woman who had answered the call on her 45th birthday.
Thank you for listening to the final transmission of Dead Signal, a Shiver Audiobooks production. We've traveled a long way together, from the shattered glass of a suburban birthday to the rain-slicked heights of Tower Bridge, and finally into the burning stone heart of Blackwood Keep. Vanessa Reddington's journey reminds us that in a world governed by algorithms and perfect logic, the most powerful thing we still possess is our own beautiful, messy humanity. The accounts are drained, the truth is live on every frequency, and the signal from the grave has finally been heard. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, please consider leaving a like and sharing the video. It's the best way to help our channel grow and ensures we can keep bringing these high-stakes, cinematic worlds to life. A massive thank you to our subscribers. You are the analog resistance that keeps this signal alive. Without your support, stories like this will remain buried in the digital dust of the system. Before you go, let us know in the comments. If you found a hidden app on your phone tonight that claimed to be a ghost, would you have the courage to open it? Or are some signals better left unanswered until the next record is unsealed? Stay alert, stay curious, and keep reading between the lines.